So Brian and I watched Onward last night, and I have to give a couple big caveats to this. I'm a huge Pixar fan, huge Disney fan. I love Chris Pratt. I love Tom Holland. So I am admittedly biased. Is it the greatest movie Pixar has ever done? No. For my money, that's still Inside Out. It's going to be really hard for them to make a movie that I love more than Inside Out. But it was good. I enjoyed it, and I want to talk about it on today's episode of Project Shadow.
Can you hear me? I have something to say.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name's Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to realize why I do a daily podcast now. Because I've been working out of the house for a very long time, and it's good to be able to talk to you all, even if it's by this kind of a delayed reaction thing. I'm really wanting to do more Facebook Lives and more YouTube Lives, but I haven't figured out exactly how to work that in to what I'm doing to make it entertaining or interesting for you all. So I would greatly appreciate any tips, tricks, things that you would like me to do in a live stream, because I don't really play a lot of games. I play Slime Rancher. It's really one of the only games I play right now, and I would like to do more chatting. So let me know what you think. I would greatly appreciate that. I've also opened up the Project Shadow Discord, which has existed for a while, but I haven't told anybody about it. And there'll be a link to it in the show notes, an invite link if you would like to join. It will be a place for us to talk about world building, about the stuff that we like, about the Princess Rescue Squad series that I'm currently working on and all that. And who knows, if you all are interested, we could even go into the voice chat every now and then and actually just talk to each other, which would be awesome. There's a Star Trek group that I'm a member of that have been using that a lot. They've been doing like trivia nights and meetups and stuff in there, and it's been really cool. So yeah, Discord. It's a thing that I'm trying to do. Anywho, Onward. Literally and figuratively, or representationally actually, not necessarily figuratively. So Brian and I watched Onward last night on Disney Plus, and it was better than I thought it would be. Mainly because I've seen many attempts at let's do urban fantasy as a company that doesn't understand urban fantasy. And I don't know that this technically counts as urban fantasy, and I think that's part of what makes it work. This is much more of a kids show than a lot of what comes out of Pixar, which is, I would consider, more family shows that, everybody in the family can get something out of. This really felt like it skews much younger. Now, having said that, I think that there are some funny scenes in there that, depending on your child, could be frightening. I know that one of my nieces would probably have had a little bit of freak out about, there's a scene with a manticore and a scene with a dragon, not to be spoilery, that might have freaked out my niece when she was quite a bit younger. So, I don't think it's too bad, though. I don't think that there's anything in here that would really freak out a kid. But at the same time, there's not too much in here for you as a parent or as an adult watching the show. And that's a little sad for a Pixar movie, because Pixar generally does a really good job at doing family stories. And I kind of wish we would bring that back as a genre, because it's a lost art. It's kind of what I'm trying to do with my Princess Rescue Squad books, which I'm probably going to be classifying as young adult, even though I'm really intending them to be more family entertainment. I think that kids could read them. I think that adults could read them. But we don't really have a viable family category or, spectrum category of all ages that works anymore. Having said that, the reason I feel that the movie skews younger is there are a lot of very simple jokes in this movie, a lot of puns, mainly at the expense of a certain centaur in the story, but it works. There's some very funny pixie puns in here. I do like pixie punks. I love anytime you give a fairy an attitude, I'm down with it because I like reading old-fashioned Celtic, Irish, Welsh, Scottish myth and folk tales, and oh yeah, your she should have an attitude, and I really enjoyed that. This was a movie more than anything that felt like the launch vehicle for a series. Much in the way that How to Train Your Dragon gave us Race to the Edge, which that was a DreamWorks production. This felt more to me like a launch pad for that. There were several characters in here, not limited to the two main brothers, that I could definitely see spin-off material in, and in a lot of ways, it felt more like a pilot than like a movie in and of itself. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It works as a movie. It has really interesting storylines through it. Most of the characters get a storyline from the single mom, who has a very powerful storyline. The Manticore gets a storyline. The kids, of course, are the main storyline. And the only character that doesn't is the one that we're supposed to be all proud of them for, and that's the out lesbian police officer who shows up twice in the movie and gets one line where she outs herself. And yay. Okay, you did that. I'm not against it, but it didn't do anything for me. Like, if you really wanted to impress me with having LGBT representation, even with a minor character like this, make one of the kids in the science class genderqueer or something obvious. Like, well, not obvious, but you know what I'm saying. Make one of them genderqueer. Make one of them gender fluid. Make one of them trans, for goodness sakes. I think that would have been a much more interesting thing, because they did go out of their way to show one of them on crutches, and that was interesting, and I'm sure will be further explored in the inevitable spin-off series that this movie is going to get. Because it's going to happen. I would almost put money down on it, but I'm not a betting person, because I read The Damnation Game when I was a kid, and that just put me off gambling forever. The Clive Barker book. Yeah. Just thought I should explain that. It gave me nightmares. It gave me really bad nightmares. Anywho, all in all, it was a good movie. I really liked the end. It's definitely a Disney movie, more than a Pixar movie. And by that, I mean, it feels like it would sit on a shelf much more naturally next to Tangled than with Toy Story, if that makes any sense to you. But it is definitely a Pixar movie. It got its prerequisite tear from me towards the end. I didn't boo-hoo like I often do in a Pixar movie, but it did hit me right in the heartstrings right at the moment when it was supposed to, and my eyes misted up, and it got its prerequisite tear, so I have fed the beast with my tears so that they can continue making entertainment that I enjoy. So there's that. Is it my favorite Pixar movie? No. Is it my favorite fantasy movie? No. But if you are a fan of How to Train Your Dragon or Troll Hunters or anything like that, this fits very well in that type of a genre. And I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was light. It was breezy. It did tackle some very serious topics like the loss of their father, which I don't think is a spoiler because that's in the credits. I mean, in the trailer, and like the first thing you learn in the movie. But yeah, it does it in a very touching, moving way that's not too heavy-handed. I was really afraid that it was going to be much more heavy-handed than it was because its humor was so heavy-handed, but they did a good job with it. It was good. And I'm very happy to say that because I get tired of doing reviews on this show and saying, it was fine. This was better than fine. It was good. So if you haven't watched Onward and you're curious, definitely do check it out. It's worth doing. But I don't think I can talk about too much more without going into spoilers. If you have not seen Onward by Disney Pixar, and you do not want to know anything that happens in the course of this movie, spoilers are incoming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have been warned. Okay. I guess I have to address the elephant in the room first and foremost. Is it the first Disney movie to have an out gay character in it? I think that's debatable, but... Because I'm sorry, Scar and Jafar are much gayer than this movie, but, you know, they never have a moment where they talk about their boyfriend, so... And that's using a trope where we give that sort of mincing foppishness to our villain for comedic effect. So they yes, of course, they don't really count, but I don't think this movie does either. The character that we have is a Cyclops who works for the police. And yeah, she's got a rather kind of a couple important scenes where she does fit into the story. But yeah, it's I mean, it's all right. It's good. It's fine. It's the one thing in this movie that I would say is just kind of fine. But yeah, it's not stellar representation. It is definitely a background character. And it's literally one line of dialogue that when Singapore or any other country wants it to be erased, they can just dub it differently in that country and they'll be fine. Or just have a dude do the voice in that country because, you know, in animation there's very little difference between a hefty female character and a overweight male character. Just saying. So, I mean, it was fine. I'm glad that they're finally doing this, and I hope that they do a better job with Thor, Love and Thunder, which by law is the way you have to say the name of that. But yeah, it's fine. Tom Holland and Chris Pratt have very good chemistry together. They work very well together. They're believable as a group of brothers. They put them exactly in the roles that you'd think they would. Tom Holland plays the efficient brother who's afraid of everything, and Chris Pratt is the D&D loving, I fear nothing brother. And I was a little bit concerned about that at the beginning of the movie, but the explanation that they gave for why he's that way, it made sense, and I liked it. That his last memory of his father is that he was supposed to go in and say goodbye to him, but he was all hooked up with these tubes and hoses and didn't look like himself, and he was afraid to do it. And then his father died, and he kind of swore to himself that he would never be afraid again. And that's powerful. That's beautiful. That's a wonderful character moment. And I liked that. That worked a lot for me. But, you know, it is Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt. And if you, like me, miss Andy from Parks and Rec, this is kind of alternate world Andy in a lot of ways. So it works perfectly all right. I do like the idea that the D&D that exists in the world is historically accurate to the point where it can actually teach people magic. I find that very funny because I grew up during the Satanic Panic, where there were actually people touring the country saying that D&D was teaching all of us children to perform black magic to our Dark Lord Satan. Which it wasn't at all. I mean, I think the only thing other than learning how to play well with others and do various problem-solving activities that we got out of doing D&D is that we started applying its alignment system to things that we encountered in life, because it's a decent grid that helps you kind of categorize things. So, yeah. Definitely did not indoctrinate us in Satanism. But it brought up for me all of those memories of the Satanic Panic, and it made me laugh. It made me laugh. And watching the kids have to learn how to do magic and use magic, and the explanations of how the magic system works, it was cute, it was fun, I enjoyed it. I also like that they played around with the idea of quests and how quests work. That was cute. They really set the movie up well, that by the time you get to the end works in a way that it needs to for a movie like this, where all of the puzzle pieces click into place in a beautiful and touching way. But to me, the most powerful thing about this movie is its exploration of family and how we have certain expectations of our family, of the people that we are related to by blood, and that those expectations are often unfair and unrealistic. And while our main character did not grow up with a father, his brother did everything with him that was on his checklist. And so he realized that he did have a father, even if it was his older brother. And it was touching to see that wonderful moment of growth. And it's rare to see a show, even a kid's show like this, that is often so theme heavy, be able to bring up that apex, that climax for the theme and the climax of the plot together the way this film did, and not make it feel hacked. I mean, it's so often that in these kinds of stories, we get to this point, and this is when the big reveal comes in that, the power was in you all along, that, love is the real super weapon, and all you need is love. Ba-ba-na-na-na. And this movie kind of gets there in the end too, but it does it in such a way that, like I said, it moved me. It got its prerequisite tear. And it felt gratifying. That I think is the one thing about Pixar movies in general, and this movie in and of itself, that a lot of kids and or family entertainment misses. In that this movie was allowing itself to take chances. It allowed itself to take the risk that our main characters are not just the standard orphan of legend who doesn't have parents and grows up without them, though there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I end up using that trope way too much, but I do use that trope a lot, and there's reasons for it. But by having them actually explore and unpack that and learn about their relationship with one another and how family really is who we choose to have with us, and that fear, while it exists, only constrains us when we allow it to hold us back, and that real bravery is overcoming our fear and not having an absence of it. These are all lessons that we see in a lot of media, but Onward did a very good job at presenting these not only as morals for children to learn, but in a way that worked out to be entertaining and interesting for the audience to watch. And as somebody who is a fan of a lot of family entertainment, when you see that, that's going to be the moral of the story, you start rolling your eyes because you're like, I've seen this 1,000 times. And while I'm not going to say that they found like the most original and most unique way that they could have possibly told this story, they told it in a way that was both necessary and consequential for this story. And more than anything, that's what made it work. I really enjoyed Onward, and I look forward to the inevitable spin-off series that they're going to do, where we get to explore this world much more through our mage, who is in the science club, leading his friends on wacky madcap adventures on Disney Plus, coming later this year or next year. It's going to happen. Can we just all agree on that? It's going to happen. So yeah, today was a fun excursion from our world building because we have finished our world building 101, and I do have plans to start our 201 series very shortly, maybe even tomorrow. I am debating whether or not to do a Clone Wars episode tomorrow or not, but maybe tomorrow. So let me know what questions you have for me so that I make sure to cover them. We're going to be really digging into that topic in a very deep way, and into a much deeper way. And I want to make sure that I'm not only covering the topics that I think are interesting and important, but that also are answering your questions. So in the show notes, you'll see the Discord server now that will be in the show notes from this point on. If you want to hit me up there, that's a great place to ask questions. I might simply answer them there, or they might make it into the show. You'll also find links to the voice message system. Keep it short, keep it clean. I would love to hear from you. Also, you can hit me up on social media. I am CE Dorset on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can find links to everything that I do over at projectshadow.com. Alrighty. If you've got a buck that you can spare, and I know that that's a really hard ask, especially right now, but down in the show notes, you'll find a link to both my Patreon and listener support. Thank you so much to everybody who's doing that. My husband and I own a restaurant, and that's our main source of income. And, well, I don't want to get into all that, but yeah. So anything you could do to help out really does help out a lot, and it is appreciated. So thank you so much. If you don't have any money right now, which a lot of us don't, or you don't feel like joining the project, that's fine. But if you do know somebody that would like any of the work that I'm doing, please share it with them. That helps out immensely as well. Alrighty, I think that's it. Princess Rescue Squad is on the way. I'm actually building up the first stages of the World Anvil now, so we'll be talking about that very soon. Alrighty, until next time, stay indoors if you can, stay safe, stay well, and don't forget to have the fun. Bye.